I want you to think about something that happened in my clinic 3 years ago. A patient walked in, 81 years old, and I almost didn't believe her chart. No major medications, no chronic disease, blood pressure of a 45-year-old, memory sharper than half my staff. I looked at her and I asked, "What's your secret?" She didn't mention her diet. She didn't mention exercise. She didn't mention sleep. She said 7 words that completely changed how I practice medicine. I'm going to tell you what those 7 words were. But first, I need you to understand something. Something that took me 20 years and thousands of patients to finally see. The thing that is quietly killing most people over 50 has nothing to do with what they eat, nothing to do with how much they move. And it is something that almost no doctor is talking about. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you are never going to look at your daily life the same way again. I've been a doctor for over 20 years, and for most of that time, I thought I knew what mattered. Diet, exercise, sleep, blood work, medications. The standard checklist that every medical school in the world teaches you to follow. I followed it faithfully, and my patients still got sick. Not all of them, but enough to bother me. Enough to keep me up at night staring at charts that didn't make sense. Because here is what I kept seeing. I had patients who did everything right. Mediterranean diet, daily walks, 8 hours of sleep, every supplement on the market, and they were still deteriorating, still tired, still inflamed, still aging faster than they should have been. And then, on the other side, I had patients who broke every single rule I'd been trained to enforce. And they were thriving. I need to tell you about one of them, because her story is the one that broke my understanding of medicine wide open. Her name, for privacy, I'll call her Margaret. She came to see me for the first time at 74, and before I even opened her chart, I noticed something. She walked in laughing. Not at anything specific, just laughing. Like she had somewhere better to be, and was amused that she'd stopped in. She ate bread every day. She had no structured exercise routine. She didn't own a single supplement. Her idea of a wellness practice was calling her sister every morning while watering her plants. I expected her numbers to be a disaster. They weren't. Her blood work was remarkable. Her memory was sharp as a woman in her 40s. Her inflammatory markers, the numbers that predict how fast your body is breaking down, were says Tam, were lower than patients 20 years younger than her. I remember sitting across from her with her chart in my hands, feeling genuinely confused. And I asked her, "Margaret, what are you doing? What's your secret?" And she looked at me like it was the most obvious thing in the world, and she said, "Doctor, I just have a lot of people to show up for." I wrote it off. I told myself genetics, luck, outlier, move on. But then it happened again. Different patient, same story. And something inside me said, stop dismissing this. Start paying attention. So I did something I had never done in 20 years of practice. I went back through every single patient file I had, hundreds of them, decades of records, and I started making a list. Every patient who had reached their late 70s or 80s in what I could only describe as extraordinary health, sharp, mobile, alive in the truest sense. The ones other patients pointed at and whispered, "I want to be like that." 63 names on that list. Then I started hunting for the pattern. And here is where it gets fascinating. Because the pattern was not what anyone expected. Not diet, not exercise, not genetics, not wealth, not location. Something else entirely. Something hiding in plain sight. And once I saw it, I could not unsee it. Every single person on that list, without a single exception, had one thing in common. They had a deep, daily, unbroken sense of connection and purpose. Not occasionally, not in the past. Right now, every single week, every single day. They had people who needed them, places where they belonged. Reasons, real, living, breathing reasons to get up every morning. And now here is the part that should stop you cold. Almost every patient who was deteriorating, regardless of how clean their diet was or how many steps they logged, reported the opposite. Quieter lives, fewer relationships, a growing, creeping sense that the world had slowly stopped needing them. The loneliest patients in my practice were aging the fastest. And I don't mean lonely in the dramatic sense. I mean the quiet kind of lonely. The kind where you have a full calendar and an empty feeling. The kind where you are surrounded by people, but genuinely unseen by all of them. That kind of loneliness. The invisible kind. And here is what that loneliness is actually doing to your body, because this is the part that I need you to really hear. This is not philosophy. This is not self-help. This is hard, peer-reviewed, measurable biology. When your brain registers that you are isolated, that you are unseen, unneeded, unconnected, it triggers a threat response, a real one, the same response your body would produce if you were physically in danger. Your cortisol levels spike. Now, cortisol in small doses is useful. It sharpens you in a crisis. But cortisol that runs high day after day, week after week, month after month, is one of the most destructive chemical environments your body can be exposed to. It eats your artery walls. It dismantles your immune system. It accelerates the death of brain cells. It inflames your gut. It creates the exact internal conditions that every major chronic disease needs to take hold. Heart disease, type 2 diabetes, dementia, autoimmune conditions, even certain cancers, all of them linked to chronic inflammation. All of that chronic inflammation driven in significant part by sustained cortisol. And sustained cortisol driven by the persistent biological signal of isolation. Your body reads loneliness as a survival threat, and it responds accordingly every single day. But here is the flip side, and this is where it gets genuinely remarkable. When you feel genuinely connected, when you feel seen, needed, part of something, your body activates a system most people have never even heard of, the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve runs from the base of your brain all the way down through your throat, your chest, your heart, your lungs, and your gut. It is one of the longest and most powerful regulatory nerves in the entire human body. And its primary job, one of its primary jobs, is to regulate inflammation. When the vagus nerve is well activated, it acts like a dimmer switch for the inflammatory response. It calms the immune system. It slows the heart rate. It signals to every organ in your body, you are safe, you are connected, stand down. And what activates the vagus nerve more powerfully than almost anything else? Warm, safe, genuine human connection, laughing with someone you trust, being truly heard, feeling genuinely needed. These are not soft experiences. They are precise biological events with measurable consequences inside your body. Now, I promised you a number, and I want you to be sitting down for this one, because when I first read this study, I had to put it down and walk around my office. Researchers analyzed data from over 300,000 people across multiple countries tracked over many years. And what they found was this. Chronic loneliness, the sustained daily experience of feeling disconnected, increases your risk of early death by up to 26%. 26%. Let me translate that into something you can feel. That is the same increase in mortality risk as smoking 15 cigarettes every single day. Every single day. We put graphic warning labels on cigarette packets. We run national health campaigns. We ban smoking in public spaces. We treat it as one of the most urgent preventable health crises in modern medicine. And chronic loneliness, which the data says is killing people at exactly the same rate, we treat as a personal problem, a lifestyle choice, a quiet sadness that people should handle on their own. That is not just a cultural failure. That is a medical failure. And I have watched it cost patients years, sometimes decades, of their lives. Now I need to take you somewhere that completely reframes everything I just told you. There is a place in Japan, a small region called Okinawa, that has one of the highest concentrations of people living past 100 years old anywhere on Earth. Researchers have been studying it for decades trying to crack the code. And they found something they didn't expect. Yes, the diet was good. Yes, people were active. But the real differentiator, the thing that set Okinawa apart from other healthy populations, were sipsins was something the researchers started calling ikigai. Ikigai. It means your reason to get up in the morning, your reason to exist, the intersection of what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what gives you a sense of contribution. But here is the critical part. In Okinawa, ikigai is not a concept. It is not a journaling exercise. It is not something you find at a weekend retreat. It is lived daily through other people. Elderly people in Okinawa don't retire from life. They don't step back from their communities and wait. They remain woven into the fabric of daily existence. A woman of 87 who is still the person her neighborhood turns to. A man of 92 who still teaches the children. A grandmother of 99 who still cooks Sunday dinner for her entire family. Not because they have to, because they are needed, because they belong somewhere. Because every morning when they wake up, there is there is someone on the other side of that day waiting for them. And their bodies, their blood, their brains, their immune systems reflect that belonging completely. The same pattern shows up in Sardinia, in the Greek island of Icaria, in the Nicoya Peninsula of Costa Rica. In every single blue zone on Earth, the communities where people consistently live the longest, healthiest lives, it is not a supplement protocol. It is deep, daily, unbreakable human connection. Now here is the part that I think will stay with you longest. I transformed their measurable health markers by doing something that had nothing to do with food or exercise. Blood pressure dropping, inflammatory markers falling, immune function strengthening. Not from a new medication, not from a diet overhaul. One man, 68 years old, high blood pressure, elevated inflammation, joined a Tuesday morning walking group. Not for the exercise, just to have somewhere to go where people knew his name. 6 months later, his numbers had shifted more than they had in 2 years of medication adjustments. A woman, 71, early cognitive decline markers, increasingly withdrawn, started volunteering at a local food pantry every other Saturday. 2 mornings a month. Her follow-up cognitive assessments 6 months later showed measurable improvement. Small things, repeated things, human things. The biology responded as if these people had made the most dramatic lifestyle intervention of their lives. Because for their nervous systems, they had. So now I want to give you something real, not inspiration, not motivation, something concrete that you can do today, not someday. The first thing is this. Think of one relationship in your life that has gone quiet. Not a difficult one, not one with history or complexity, just quiet. A friend you haven't called in months, a sibling you've drifted from, someone who used to be woven into your regular life and somehow, slowly, isn't anymore. Reach out this week. And I am not asking you to write something long or meaningful or carefully worded. Just this, hey, I was thinking about you. That is the whole message. 7 words. And I want you to understand, those 7 words are not just kindness. They are a biological intervention for them and for you. The second thing, find one place where you can show up regularly. A walking group, a class, a volunteer role, a weekly coffee. It does not need to feel meaningful immediately. Real deep connection never announces itself. It builds quietly, invisibly, through repeated presence with the same people over time. The only requirement is that you keep showing up. The third thing, ask yourself this question and answer it honestly. What would I do this week if I knew it would genuinely matter to someone else? Then do that thing. Not next week. This week. Purpose does not need to be grand. It does not need to change the world. It only needs to be real. Teaching someone something, checking in, showing up, being the person who remembers. The biology does not grade on scale. It only registers one signal. I matter. I am connected. I am here for something. And if you are over 50 and you have been feeling more isolated than you used to, I need you to hear this. Not as a warning, not as a judgment, as a doctor speaking directly to you. That feeling is a health signal. One of the most important ones your body can send. And the fact that you feel it means your body is still trying to protect you. It is still asking for what it needs. And what it needs, what the science says it needs, what 20 years of watching patients thrive or decline, you're towards some connection. Daily, real, unfiltered, human connection. That is the secret the 81-year-old woman in my clinic was carrying. Not a diet, not a supplement, not a morning routine. She had a lot of people to show up for, and her body, every cell of it, knew exactly what that meant. If this changed something in how you see your life, share it. Not just with anyone, with the specific person who came to your mind while you were watching this. Let this be the reason you reach out. Let this be the message that starts something back up. Because that one moment of reconnection might do more for your long-term health than anything else you do this year. Subscribe if you want more of this. The real science, the real stories, the things that medicine knows but rarely says out loud. Because the next video is going to reveal something about the way we sleep that most doctors have completely backwards. And once you hear it, you will never think about rest the same way again.